Good morning. So here I am, Sue Johnson, and here you are. And you're ready to listen to what I have to tell you about my knitting. And I have been working on, it's what I've been working on recently, is what I call a summer shawl. Now, what is a summer shawl or a winter shawl? The winter shawl would be made of merino, some type of wool. The summer shawl, I decided, should be made of cotton. And since I like the picnic cotton so well, I'm making a shawl using that. About a year ago, I decided I just wanted to learn all different ways of knitting, like different patterns, different styles, different techniques. For example, I wanted to learn how to do lace knitting. This was one of my earlier tries. Look at this. See that? See the irregularities? Uh, when I think when anybody tries to learn something new, it doesn't always go smooth. I do know people that, they learn something ABC and they do ABC and that's it. I'm not like that, and I would say a good percentage of us are not. We need repetition. We need the patterns. We need to do things again and again, the sequence, so that we can learn stuff. And that's what happened with me. This was one of my first shawls using a particular pattern where the increase to shape the shawl is done through the center. Now my center line is not even, and my lace holes are irregular, but I was learning, and that's the thing. I think sometimes when people knit, they use a pattern and a particular kind of wool, and if it works, great. And then they move on to something else, a completely different kind of wool, completely different pattern. And maybe that doesn't work and they get discouraged. Or maybe it does. But I was thinking, if you are learning and you're trying to become somewhat, let's say, an expert, you're trying to really develop a skill so that you can have a sense of confidence, you can feel good about what you're learning, what you're doing, what you're creating, you can feel good about your accomplishments. Why not just stick with a similar type of wool and a similar pattern for a while to really get the feel of it, to develop your skill, to encourage you to develop your skill? So I have 4 shawls, not the one I'm wearing, 4 shawls that use this sort of V pattern. And it's a pattern that I got from a free pattern from Gain Gain Studio, drops, using the drops wool. You can look it up, and if I remember, I'll include it in the description. But basically, you're increasing on each end, and you are increasing in the middle section, and that's what creates that V effect. So this was my first one, and I actually washed it in the machine. Crazy me. Okay, and I got a hole, so I knit sort of a little heart to put over the hole. Anyway, one day I'll create another white one for myself. Then the second one I did was this variegated wool I picked up in Cheektowaga, New York State. Again, using the same pattern, the V section. You see how the V goes? And this one's a bit bigger than the white one. And you'll notice that this is a little bit different. It's not really the V shape. And that's because at some point, sometimes I pick up the top stitches and I crochet a nice edge. Now this one, the middle line, lace line, actually falls in a line. So you see, I got better, and that's the thing. If you continue working on, let's say, using the same pattern, doing it maybe a couple of times, you can develop a skill and you can improve the mistakes and find ways to help yourself avoid the mistakes. I used markers to indicate when I was coming to that V section, and I trained myself, the middle section, and I trained myself to recognize that this first hole is a yarn over, and then the next is knit, and then a yarn over. So I'll share some of that pattern because I've actually rewritten the pattern a little bit for myself so that I can follow the directions without getting confused or where the heck am I at? Some patterns are like that. Some are like learning a new language, even though we're all supposed to be using, the same terms, knit, purl, yarn over, and so forth. So then this one, I knit up. This is again a merino, same pattern with that middle V section increase. And I decided to add some lace lines to it. So again, I was practicing my yarn over, which creates that little hole in the work. And if you do it consistently enough, you can actually get a pattern. So, and again, I almost always, excuse me, I almost always finish my edgings with some crochet. I got to clear a frog. Hold okay, on. The frog is gone, I think. And again, same pattern with that V section. And the line is getting better, and my little eyelets holes are getting more consistent. And that's the thing that you want. This one is just basically a straight knit, and then I added a crocheted edging. Let's see if I can show you the right side of that edging. Like that. I like that. I call that the snowflake edge. I can't remember what the actual name is. Star snowflake. And I added it top and bottom. This is actually a green. The lighting right now is not really showing off the green, but there it is. And I make basic ones like white, black, navy, green, because it goes with almost everything that I own. So this is one of my favorite ones. And I wear these a lot, even on a cool Ontario summer evening. I've worn them. So then, you know that I've been, if you've seen my other videos, you know that I've been enjoying working with this picnic cotton, which I buy from Purl Soho, which is in California now. I think they originally started in New York State. And they sell online, and us Canadians, we can order it. And I have learned that if you order $50 or less, then you don't get charged duty. So far, that's worked for me. But I love the feel of this cotton. It's 100% Peruvian Pima cotton. And I just thought, well, I am going to Disney at the end of August. I sometimes just like a shawl to wear so that, because I like to wear t-shirts, not bras, especially in the heat. And so I like something to sort of cover. And that's what I'm doing right now. I just have a t-shirt with my microphone, and I just put a shawl over in a certain way so that, we're covered. I don't know why our society does that. When I went to Africa, you don't have to do that in the same way. Not that they're bare-breasted. Not where I went, anyways. That's a whole other story. Anyways, okay, so I'm working with the picnic cotton, which is nice and soft, and I'm creating using the same pattern, creating that center line. I have to be careful I don't lose it off my needle. And it's knitting up quite nicely. I decided to add a few lines of eyelet, which don't really show up quite the same way in this yarn, but when I block it, it will stretch out these patterns and you'll see it a little bit more. Plus it just makes it a little bit more airy so that it's cool. So I'm hoping that no matter what, it's cool. I will be taking and testing it out in Florida. So that is what I'm working on. This particular shawl, let's see if I can move my... This one I didn't follow that same pattern. This one is just, you start with 3 stitches and you increase only on one side. One side is straight and the other one's the increase. Kind of hard to see with this. This is a silk blend, merino silk blend. And again, I just practiced my eyelets, which you do by yarn over, knit two together, and then you purl back on the next row or you knit it back. And this is one of my favorites as well. It's a nice size. And so I'll just put it on and create kind of like a collar effect and wear it. So I'm a hippie from way back, really, the 60s. And if you don't know what that is, look it up. You might be too young watching this. Anyways, that's what I'm working on. And also, I have a little product that I purchased that gathers the knit dust that occurs as you're knitting. My husband used to be sitting in the chair and he'd say, "Oh, I just snuffed up one of those little tiny flies again." And after a while, I began to realize that we don't actually have little tiny flies floating around in our house waiting to go up our nose. It was the dander duff from knitting, because I was getting it too. So I bought this little unit that just takes in the air, purifies it. I keep it right by me when I'm knitting, turn it on, and it just sort of draws that dander dust, that little bit of, you know, knitting dust in that direction, not going up my nose. So I'm not sniffing my nose and clearing it and being tickled all the time. So I'll share that at the end. And I'm going away camping. I will take some knitting. I think we're going to get some rain. We're 4 days camping, so I'll see you like next week. Don't worry, I'll show up. Bye. I just wanted to show you the beginning stages of when I was working on my current summer shawl. Now, I have a marker to indicate where I need to do my yarn over, knit one yarn over, except that in this particular picture, I made a mistake. So when you make a mistake, you just add a stitch somewhere, let's say in the middle of your first row, so that you can have equal number stitches on each side. Also, here's more illustration on how I wear my shawls. I just tuck them tuck them into my waistline. I'm sure you can find lots of ways. Sometimes I just fold it over into a knot. Wintertime is great because you can just wrap them up around your neck and they act as a scarf. I just find them really, really handy. And my husband once said, "How many shawls are you going to make?" I don't know. Sometimes the yarn inspires me. Sometimes it's the color. Sometimes it's what I'm wearing and I realize I want a shawl, like going to Disney. I want a summer shawl, so I'm making one. So if you have made a shawl and you wear it in different ways, share those ideas with me because I love hearing your stories. If you've ever knit with picnic cotton, let me know. I just feel like I'm the only one out here knitting with picnic cotton. I'm sure I'm not, but I'd like to hear your stories. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.